Okay, so like, have you ever gotten sucked into that whole endless scroll thing on social media?
Oh, yeah.
You know, where you're just like glued to your phone, scrolling through everyone's perfectly filtered lives and wondering, how do they do that?
Totally. It's like everyone else has this amazing online presence and I don't know.
Right. It's easy to get caught up in those perfectly curated feeds and think, oh, it's effortless for them.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. There's a ton of behind-the-scenes work that goes into building a successful online presence.
So true. And a big part of that, which a lot of people don't realize, is personal development and emotional intelligence, or EQ for short.
Okay, so break that down for us. What do we really mean when we're talking about personal development and EQ, especially for people who maybe aren't super familiar with those terms?
Sure. So personal development is basically like constantly leveling up your skills. It's all about learning, growing, and becoming the best version of yourself, like always striving to improve.
Okay, so it's like you're constantly working on yourself. I like that.
And EQ, well, think of it this way.
It's like being able to read the room, right?
Right.
But like in the online world.
Exactly. It's about understanding and managing emotions, both your own and the emotions of your audience, which can be really tricky online.
Because you don't have those visual cues.
Exactly. And it's so crucial because at the end of the day, people connect with other people.
That's so true. And, you know, the thing is, the digital landscape is constantly changing. What worked last year or even last month might not work today.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. In fact, one of the sources we looked at for this deep dive actually mentioned this influencer boot camp that's become super popular.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently, it's all about teaching influencers how to adapt to algorithm changes and basically use analytics to create more engaging content.
Wow. I mean, it makes sense. Like, you can't just post randomly and hope for the best anymore.
Right. And that's why this whole personal development thing is so crucial. Like, a lot of the successful influencers we read about are constantly reading industry reports. They're taking online courses. Some even have mentors.
Oh, wow. Mentors.
Yeah. Like, they're getting coached by people who've already made it big online.
That's actually really smart. I never thought about it that way. It is like any other profession when you really think about it.
Exactly. Think about it like you wouldn't expect to become a surgeon without like years of training and practice, right?
Hopefully.
It's the same with building a successful online presence. It takes serious dedication.
Wow.
And like we were saying, this commitment to continuous learning.
Okay, so we've established that you can't just coast. You have to constantly be learning and growing. But what are the skills that really move the needle? Like, what should people actually be focusing on?
Well, communication is obviously huge.
Right, makes sense, yeah.
If you can't get your message across clearly, then nothing else really matters. And you got to be able to connect with your audience in a genuine, authentic way.
And a huge part of that is good writing, too.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, think about it. Captions, tweets, Instagram stories, even if you're not writing like long blog posts or anything.
Right. You've got to get your point across quickly.
Exactly. And then there's the whole organizational side of things, which, let's be real, it can feel like a full-time job in itself.
Oh, it totally is. Even if you're not managing a whole team of people.
Right.
We're talking scheduling posts, engaging with comments, keeping track of analytics. It's a lot to handle. Some of those influencers swear by those, you know, the apps.
Which ones?
Like Asana or Trello, the project management tools.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're really helpful for staying organized when you have like a million different things going on.
That's really interesting. I can see how those would be super helpful. It's funny because, you know, when most people think influencer, they picture like those perfect photo shoots and glamorous events. But our research also really highlighted something that often gets overlooked.
What's that?
The importance of well-being.
Oh, 100%. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle and forget to take care of yourself.
Totally. And it's not just about like bubble baths and face masks, although those are great too, but like really prioritizing your mental and emotional health.
Absolutely. And that looks different for everyone, of course. But a lot of the studies we looked at talked about mindfulness and things like exercise for managing stress.
Which makes sense because let's be real, this whole online world can be intense. The pressure to be on all the time, it's a lot.
It really is.
And honestly, it's something we can all relate to, right? Whether you're an influencer with thousands of followers or just trying to navigate the daily grind. Figuring out how to deal with stress and take care of yourself is so important.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, so we've talked about personal development and the importance of like always leveling up your skills. But now I kind of want to dive into what I think is the real secret sauce here.
Yeah, tell me more.
Emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
EQ.
Secret sauce, I like that. It really is. Because like you were saying, anyone can, you know, post a pretty picture.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Or share some funny story. But what really makes people connect with an influencer is, I think, it's that feeling of like they get to you.
Okay, so how do they do that? How do they create that sense of genuine connection, especially when it's all happening through a screen?
So one of the sources we looked at, this psychologist who specializes in digital communication, actually, they called it emotional mirroring.
Emotional mirroring.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Basically, it means that the influencer is able to reflect back the emotions that their audience is feeling.
Oh, I see. So it's not just about sharing your own experiences. It's about showing your audience that you understand what they're going through.
Exactly. It's like, let's say your audience is, I don't know, mostly young entrepreneurs who are feeling super stressed and overwhelmed.
Right. Totally.
An influencer with good EQ, they'd pick up on that, right? And they might post something like, hey, I see you hustling and grinding. Don't forget to take a break.
Oh, that's so true. It's like they're not just trying to sell you something. They're actually acknowledging like the emotional reality of their audience.
Exactly. And that kind of empathy can go a long way, honestly, in building those relationships and that trust, because it shows you're like a real person, you know?
Totally. It's about being relatable, not just some perfectly curated brand.
100%.
Which actually brings us to another big theme from our research: authenticity.
Yes, and this is where EQ gets really, really interesting, because it's not just about understanding your audience's emotions, it's about managing your own, which, let's be real, is not always easy.
Especially online. I mean, the internet can be brutal. You've got trolls, haters. It takes serious courage to put yourself out there.
It does, and it takes resilience, like serious emotional resilience. And that's something that our sources really, really emphasized, the importance of self-awareness. Like influencers who really understand their own emotions, they're going to be much better equipped to handle criticism, to bounce back from setbacks.
It's like you can't let the haters get to you.
Exactly. You got to stay grounded.
It's funny because we often think of influencers as having these like perfect lives.
Yeah.
You know? But one of the things that really struck me in our research was just how much emphasis was placed on the challenges of like putting yourself out there online and how much of an emotional toll it can take.
Oh, for sure. And that's where this whole EQ thing is so, so important. Like you're constantly dealing with comments, messages, opinions, good and bad. It takes serious emotional intelligence to process all of that.
Without taking it personally.
Exactly. You've got to filter out the noise, which is really, really hard to do, by the way.
Oh, totally. It's like you want to be open and engage with your audience, but you also have to protect your own energy.
Exactly. And that's why I think authenticity is so powerful. When you're being genuine, when you're being yourself, it really does shine through.
People can spot a fake a mile away.
Seriously. They know when you're forcing it, and they respond to that realness, to that authenticity.
100%. Okay, so we've talked about how important EQ is for connecting with your audience and for staying true to yourself, even when things get tough online. But our research also highlighted another area where EQ can make a huge difference.
What's that?
Building relationship.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I'm not just talking about connecting with followers. It's about those relationships with brands, collaborators, other influencers. It's about building your network.
It's like that whole thing, you know, your network is your net worth or whatever.
Exactly. And it's not just about like going to those influencer parties and handing out business cards. It's about, you know, approaching those relationships with genuine curiosity, with empathy. You want to be able to collaborate with people, to support each other, not just use each other. You know?
Right. It's about those genuine connections again, which I feel like is kind of a theme we keep coming back to.
It's everything. Because like, no matter how many followers you have, whether it's 100 or 100,000 or 1,000,000, it always comes back to human connection.
100%. It's about people connecting with people, even if it's all happening like through their phones.
Exactly. And I think that's what I find so fascinating about all of this. Like we talk about personal development and emotional intelligence. We think of it as these like soft skills, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But they can make a huge difference in how successful you are online and offline too.
It's like we've uncovered this like secret code for how to really connect with people in a world that can feel so disconnected.
Totally. And the best part is these are skills that like anyone can learn. Anyone can work on. It's not like you have to be born an influencer.
Yeah.
It's about putting in the effort to like really understand yourself and then use that understanding to connect with other people authentically.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, what's like the one big takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
Ooh, good question. I think it's this. In a world where everyone's so busy trying to like curate this perfect image online, it's easy to forget that the most important thing is to just be yourself. Like, people can tell when you're being fake. They respond to authenticity, to realness, to those messy, imperfect humans, like just trying to figure things out like the rest of us.
I love that. It's about embracing the mess, learning as we go, and connecting with each other in a real, authentic way.
That's it.
Well, there you have it, everyone, our deep dive into the world of personal development and EQ and what it really takes to build a successful online presence. It's about so much more than just those pretty pictures. It's about continuous learning. It's about honing those essential skills. It's about understanding yourself and your audience. And most importantly, it's about building those genuine connections that really matter.